runway 31 left, clear for takeoff.
TAMPA 1250 coming up Garden City by track routing westbound.
This is a whitewash, is a whitewash from the top down.
They didn't try to find any evidence.
It's a whitewash. It wasn't. We asked for an investigation and we got an inspection.
That's what 5 current and former federal air marshals who we first talked to more than 2 years ago are saying. They're talking about this 21-month Office of Inspector General, or OIG, report about the agency. The air marshals say the report missed the incompetence and discrimination displayed by managers in the agency and the danger that incompetence causes in the skies.
If it affects us, it affects the flying public.
They never interviewed the right people.
The entire report's egregious. I'd be embarrassed to put my name to this.
The trigger for the investigation was this Jeopardy board we first exposed in 2010. Managers in the training office in Orlando played a game disparaging African Americans, gays, lesbians, Hispanics, and veterans.
They are trying and attempting in every way to run from this game board.
That's because the air marshals say the board is symbolic of the system-wide attitude of managers in the agency. However, the Inspector General report says the board was not a source of allegations or retaliation and discrimination in other field offices. It goes on to say the board was used to make fun of those on the training staff, not others. The air marshals say that's a blatant lie.
When in fact, there were no gay air marshal trainers in that office at the time. There was no lesbian people in there at the time. There was no African Americans there at the time. So obviously, this was false. They never interviewed the right people.
Meantime, for the first time, we are learning as this letter to Tampa Mayor Bob Buckborn explains that former Federal Air Marshal Supervisor Matt Ryan testified in federal court. In fact, he was the co-creator of the Jeopardy board, along with former Federal Air Marshal Supervisor Tom Feeney. At the time this letter was written, Ryan was a Tampa police officer, but abruptly resigned. His LinkedIn account says he's in law enforcement in the D.C. area. Feeney is a major with the Hillsborough Sheriff's Office.
I mean, they're in law enforcement out there trying to protect the public, but yet they're the guys that created this game to discriminate against these people.
It's a disgrace. I think the public should be aware. You have these people in power still with law enforcement. How are they going to be treating the public?
General public ought to be concerned. The largest federal racist discrimination case in the history of federal law enforcement is going on, and it's being covered up.
But the federal air marshals say the biggest cover-up is the fact that the management of the agency not only discriminates and has a general disdain for the working air marshals, but also it's wasting millions of dollars with an unnecessary layer of government.
You have layers and layers of people riding desks. This is the Federal Air Marshal Service, not the Federal Chair Marshal Service. It's ridiculous. They don't do anything.
And they contend the management of the agency, which is stacked with retired Secret Service agents, is endangering the flying public because the air marshals are ordered not to investigate anything suspicious on an airplane until there's an incident.
So we don't do anything. We don't react at the last possible second in the worst case scenario, and we absolutely could react late.
The air marshals say there's a simple fix.
The United States Congress should demand tonight that the agency be put into receivership and be administered by competent, legitimate law enforcement. For instance, the FBI, the U.S. Marshal Service.
And they say not only will it save at least $100 million a year, but also it'll ensure the flying public is protected. Mike Deason, 10 News.